Okay, one more thing about chords before we move on and do another analysis, and then we look at applying some of these things. We're gonna do some just production exercises and actually write some music and look at bass lines and melodies in particular, since we've spent the majority of our time so far on chords. Chords will still be a major part of bass lines and melodies going forward, but we'll be applying them a little bit different. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was what happens when you have a chord that doesn't really fit into any of the rules. Sometimes you might just like slap your hands down on a keyboard and say that was a cool sound, but it doesn't fit into any root third fifth pattern, right? So I could say, okay, this is cool. I'm just kind of randomly throwing notes around. Okay, here we go. You're like, okay, that's a cool sound. It's sounds a little dissonant and terrible, but let's say, for the sake of argument, that you love that sound. We could analyze this and stare at it all day long and say, how does that fit into our root third fifth? What's the key? What's the root? That's going to be a losing man's game because it's not going to fit into those. And when we have chords that just don't fit into any pattern, we really kind of just call them cluster chords. A cluster chord means it's got a whole bunch of everything. It's kind of our default name for stuff. So it's a cluster chord. It doesn't fall into the root third fifth pattern. It probably could. I mean, we could analyze it and find a good name for it if we really wanted to. And if this was like hardcore music theory, we would do that. We would analyze it until we found something that would work as a name for it. But we don't care about that. We're not like trying to get our master's degree in music theory here. We're just trying to write some cool stuff. So let's just call them cluster chords. Once things start getting past the rules that we've talked about so far, to us, they're just going to be cluster chords. We don't really care about them after that. If, that being said, you decide to go get a master's degree in music theory, you will find names for these things. And there are more names for them, but nothing that really concerns us. Maybe someday we'll do a music theory for electronic musicians atonal version in which we talk about complete like chromaticism, like anything goes. I doubt that would have any practical use for any of you, so we'll probably never do that. But if you really want to see it, write it in the comments of this class, and we'll see. Maybe it'll be worth doing. I don't know. So cluster chords, big groupings of notes that don't have a easy name that we can put on them. There you go.